given in Paris. I would like to, at the outset, thank Geopragma for arranging this event. I know these days attention for the issue of Afghanistan. I would like to particularly extend my thanks to the organizers, to Dr. Carlin, to Madame Patricia Lalonde, to Mr. Armin Sarkisian, to Gerard, to Carmen Alain, and Reza Jafari. I think these were the names that I was given, that they are the speakers. I want to thank every and each one of you for being there to talk, being there to speak, to contribute or ask questions. I was not given a topic, I was not given a theme for my presentation, so I was given the freedom to choose, and the issue of Afghanistan is massive. I was navigating myself which topic to choose in order to be relevant to the interest of the participants in Paris, to our Western audience, and also to the greater general public of Afghanistan. I thank you very much for giving the introduction about myself. I don't want to go into those details. I have been a practitioner, I have been a policymaker, and also I have been at the almost top of the pyramid of power for a while. I have been at the bottom of the pyramid, in the middle, and as I said, at the top. I do not want to take you back to the start of the turbulence, which was 79-80. So I would like to focus specifically on the most interesting period, which is post-Massoud era, the Western intervention, 9/11, and experience of us working with the Western alliance led by the United States of America. Before continuing, I would like to once again get a confirmation if my voice is clear.
Yes.
So my focus will be on the period post 9/11, post the killing of our leader, Great Ahmad Shah Massoud, to August 2021, and how I see the situation now, and how is our diagnosis and perspective of the future. I will be very short in order to make this this evening more interactive. So I will not go through a written speech, which I don't have anyway, by the way. First, the August 15, 2021 was not only about the collapse of Afghanistan's republic system only. I want to make it very bold and clear. It also marked the date signifying the collapse of the moral of the Western alliance. On August 15, 2021, whatever moral standing the United States had in Afghanistan and in the region, it collapsed. It collapsed in front of the eyes of the world. In that day, the West, led by the United States, or let's be very clear clear and simple. The United States of America smashed every commodity named morality and values and pushed the good majority of the Afghan people into the cage of wolves, zombies, and under the bus. Since that day, 8 million Afghans have lost their homes. They are either internally displaced because they are chased by the Taliban, or they have left the country. They have primarily went to the neighboring countries, largely Islamic Republic of Iran, Pakistan, Turkey, Central Asia, Russia, Middle East, and a very small number of them have been evacuated to the Western countries. The mainstream American media since August 2021 has been trying to blame the Afghan people, the Afghan politicians, the Afghan culture, anything associated with Afghanistan for this colossal failure. This media is like a flood, and at times washes away everything on its way, perhaps, sometimes sparing lovely trees which have deep roots. And maybe I am one of them, and they have not been able to silence me. August 15 is when the United States of America said no to morality, said no to values, said no to human relations, said no to emotions, said no to human sentiments, and preferred to take it as naked, largely anti-human interest. Let us say it as it is. Since 2020, no American media has ever mentioned that there was a strategic partnership agreement with Afghanistan. No American media or politician is saying that there was a bilateral security agreement with the legal, legitimate state of Afghanistan. No American media or politician is mentioning the number of bodies Afghanistan lost in that cause. What they are repeating is 2,500 American servicemen and women who lost their lives while serving in Afghanistan. There are two types of deaths. The Afghan deaths, which are not counted, and the golden souls, which are the Western souls who have died in that cause. They have name, they have face, they have rank, they have family, they have memory, and tens of thousands of my countrymen who believed in the promise and who trusted the word of the Western powers, specifically the words of the sole superpower of our time. They don't exist. What we have inherited is tens of thousands of graves and hundreds of thousands of orphans and widows. So the lesson number one that I'm going to pass to the future generation of Afghans, and also to those who are still in the scene, who have not given up, my number one takeaway from my very direct work with the CIA, with the Pentagon, with the State Department, with USAID, with US diplomatic mission in Afghanistan, with almost every Western intelligence service that rushed to Afghanistan post 9/11 is this. They come there, they exploit your poverty. They exploit your naivety. They exploit your sincerity. And then they switch off their contact numbers and go. It may not be an applicable lesson for all our foreign relations, but certainly this was the second time United States backstabbed the Afghan people. They backstabbed us in the 90s after the fall of the disintegration of the Soviet Union. They abandoned us. They stopped assisting us. They gave us ruins. They gave us distraction. And all of a sudden, the alliance we had with them in the 80s was forgotten. They came back in 2001. I can go on with the names of individuals who came and promised. They said, we will stay. We will assist you. We will not make the mistake of the past. We are ashamed of our past. This time, this is a long haul. We will not allow Afghanistan to become a black hole again. What happened? They abandoned us again. Not only they abandoned us again, after abandoning the Afghan people, to this very moment that I am talking to you, they are providing tens of millions of dollars to Taliban. I want to repeat. They have provided over $18 billion to the Taliban since 2021. A noble American soul by the name of Lisa Curtis was yesterday quoted. She was a member of the Doha negotiating team. She was a senior staffer in the National Security Council of the United States. She said, quote, "We presented Afghanistan to the Taliban like a birthday cake," end of quote. And let me make another quote from a person who I know very closely, and I have featured in his book, Henry Crampton, a very senior CIA officer who has written a book called Art of Intelligence. Quote, "We went to Afghanistan not to defeat the Taliban or ask them to surrender. We went to Afghanistan to secretly recruit the Taliban to help us." End of quote. So, ladies and gentlemen, the public narrative which was given to us from 2001 to August 2021, based on these testimonies, based on these papers that we get now, was deception. It is very easy to say Afghans were corrupt. It's very easy to say Afghanistan is not fixable. It is very easy to say that we are a country of multiple tribes, etc., etc. But all those excuses, maybe true or untrue, does not wash the stinking black mark on the forehead of NATO in my country. They have created the biggest human catastrophe in the past 3 years in Afghanistan. And they are trying, by sponsoring media tours, to belittle it. So that's lesson number one I have learned as a practitioner, as a policymaker, and as a decision maker. Lesson number two. Values and principles which were supposedly the foundation of the Western civilization, particularly the United States civilization, evaporated overnight in the event of that. They seemed, when immediately they saw no immediate material interest in Afghanistan. The Biden administration injected $17 billion to the Taliban Afghanistan to assist them consolidate the worst, most cruel and inhumane clerical dictatorship Afghanistan has ever experienced. Why? Because a system based on values had become more expensive and more difficult to sustain, and thus it was claimed. It was sold. By the way, I may sound angry. Trust me, I am not. I am not a conformist to the frames of legacy media. I don't want to be politically correct. And I don't want to be in line with politically correct politicians as well. And I have no fear to express what is boiling in my chest. So this is lesson number 2. You saw post-2021 statements from Blinken, from Tom West, from Karen Decker, from this and that. All they were trying to do was to shield themselves behind this excuse that they were doing everything good and only a man in his late 70s by the name of Ashraf Ghani was guilty. Ashraf Ghani was not guilty. His only guilt was over-trusting the United States. He should have not trusted the United States. He should have received with open heart and welcome the offer of the regional countries. We paid a massive price for our alliance with the NATO. And what is now the fate of Ashraf Ghani? Anyway, that's lesson 2, that there are no values, there are no principles. What is there is a very naked interest. That naked interest can be sometimes secured with alliance, through alliance with terrorists. It can be secured through alliance with dictatorships. It can be secured through alliance with religious fanatics. So my advice to the Afghan people, particularly those who are fighting the Taliban, is we should also search for our own interest. And we should not believe blindly in such promises and slogans. Lesson 3. None of our neighbors are bad. They are our neighbors. They exist here, they existed, they didn't leave. For over 20 years, we were lectured on how our neighbors were bad. And then what happened? When the United States of America left, tens of thousands of American-trained Afghan forces, they found refuge where? In the very soil of our neighbors. And you know, some of these neighbors smile at us, jokingly. It's a tragedy comedy. They say, where is the West? West has gone thousands and thousands of miles away from its promises, both physically, morally, and politically. Every single word the Russian political commentators and experts have been saying about Afghanistan, especially post-2011, proved true. President Putin has been saying that these people will backstab you. They will not stay. And when they leave, they will not say we are leaving. They will blame you for leaving. He was right. Our other neighbors were right too. They were saying this the same, but we said, no, how can the mightiest military alliance defending the living civilization of our time can lie to a poor nation called Afghanistan? And they did. As far as the specific interest of the anti-Taliban bloc is concerned, or the anti-Taliban constituency is concerned, we should have not given up our arms to the DDR. Demobilize, disarm, reintegrate. We were demobilized, we were disarmed, we were never reintegrated. We were not reintegrated because it was not in the interest of the corporations, particularly the private security companies, particularly the prime maintenance companies, particularly the prime construction companies, to reintegrate us. They worked with people of their own image. So, I give you an example. There was a company in Afghanistan operating by the name of New Limon. They were charging the system. They were charging the system up to $3 billion for maintenance of the vehicle fleet of the Afghan security forces. And in 2022-21, before the collapse of the Republic, they came to us, they said, we can do the same contract with you for less than $300 million. We approached the Americans. We said, this company which you were paying $3 billion a year is ready to do the same amount of work for us for $300 million. They said, we are not going to pay you the $300 million. We asked the New Limon why they are refusing to pay 1/10 of what they were paying to you directly. And the reply was very simple. If they finance this contract for $300 million, then the question will be, where was the $2.7 billion going in the last 20 years or less? So why are they blaming us for corruption? Why? There is a very famous quote from Senator John McCain, a distinguished American. He met our ambassador. He met Syed Taib Jawad. Syed Taib Jawad told him, Honorable Senator or Congressman, from each dollar you gave to Afghanistan, 80 cents come back to Washington. He says, what's wrong with that? It's our own dollars. Exactly. It was United States dollars. They have every right what to do with it. I am requesting them to respect us as a nation. Do not call us corrupt. We are not corrupt. We were not corrupt. What we have inherited, as I say, the largest legacy we have is graves of our dear ones. It hurts. The backstabbing is one thing, but this poison of tongue is another thing, which is hurting us. Some of you may say, was it all about the United States? And where were the Afghan leaders? What were they doing? It was a colossal failure. I'm going to come to the responsibilities of the Afghan leaders, including myself. The Doha Agreement was, in fact, a contract between Washington and the Taliban to recruit the Taliban as an instrument of foreign policy, regardless of the cruelty or the cost to pursue geopolitical aims. With non-democratic, non-transparent tools and instruments. This weekly cash shipments, despite the rhetoric of the Trump White House, is continuing. I have evidence it is continuing. There is a simple question. Why they are giving between $45 to $60 million to the Taliban? We all know that such cash assessment does not alleviate the suffering of the Afghan people. It hasn't stopped migration. It hasn't created jobs. It has consolidated the religio-tribal dictatorship of the Taliban. Now, what is happening now? A myth is being created a myth has been created that there is no alternative to the Taliban rule. This is a very harsh insult to human soul. Let me repeat it again. This is the harshest insult to the human soul. It is the most racist insult. The legacy media, policymakers, commentators, diplomats, especially from the Western countries, are throwing at the people of Afghanistan. It's like degrading Afghans and Afghanistan to a human zoo. When you are saying there is no alternative to the Taliban, you are literally telling us that your destiny after 20 years of our intervention is reduced to a human zoo. That's what's happening in Afghanistan in 2025. I quoted Lisa Curtis, "We did not fail." The largest military alliance in the face of earth presented my country like a birthday cake to the Taliban. So, that is the testimony of the American officials themselves. Doha was not a peace process. It was a conspiracy. You know what? In 2021, to the date of the collapse, the American military did not assist us to do operations in the north because the conspiracy was to allow the entire country fall at the hands of the Taliban. When we defied the code of partnership with them and we sent our commandos to the Faryab province unilaterally, 38 of our commandos were killed in less than 1 hour because General Miller refused to provide them air support. I was a month before the collapse of the Republic, accompanying President Ashraf Ghani to the White House. Every single word that Biden said proved a lie. Every single word the CIA director said was a lie. Every single word Louis Austin told us was a lie. I asked him 3 questions. Question number 1. Why every single logistical contract is coming to an end on September 1st, 2001, and you are not redoing it? They said, we will answer this at the technical level, maybe back when you are in Afghanistan. That's number 1. I said number 2, Mr. President, every sign we see, the Doha process is more of a process for regime change. It doesn't seem like a peace process. He said, we are with you, we stand with you. Should the Taliban disregard their commitment that they have signed and not go ahead with intra-Afghan negotiations, we will defend the Afghan Republic and we make sure there is peace, not unilateral takeover of the Taliban. This was a lie. I also asked Austin, when I was accompanying Dr. Abdullah Ashraf Ghani to the Pentagon, we said, this is what the Taliban are doing. This is what the Taliban are doing. Does it mean you have ceased supporting the Afghan forces and actually you are assisting them in esteem? Said, no, we are going to send a technical mission to Kabul, and this technical mission will work with you the details and nuances to make sure the capital region is defended until an intra-Afghan settlement is reached. This was a lie, because in the secret annexes of the Doha Agreement, actually the United States has committed that they will not assist the Afghan forces, they will not assist the ANDSF, and they have also refused to say ANDSF. It is written the forces of the other side. That is the magnitude of the betrayal and backstabbing. Now, what is the situation right now? The situation right now is a strategic ambiguity. It is a calculated strategic ambiguity, lack of clearance. Major international stakeholders are deliberately reinforcing this ambiguity because the clarity is frightening. The clarity is what I am telling you, and it's frightening. It's dangerous, it involves risk. They know there is a snake in the kitchen, but they hope it will go away by itself. Ladies and gentlemen, we own that kitchen, and they have left the snake in our kitchen. Hope is not a plan. Hope is not a dream. Hope is not a strategy. That is why, despite the odds, despite the risks, despite the risk of even talking, we have not given up. Because we own the country, and we believe the Doha conspiracy was designed to take it away from us for very malign geopolitical aims. If those geopolitical aims are not malign, my question is repeated again. The Taliban receive up to $60 million a week for what? UNAMA has spent $700 million since August 2021 to achieve what? To reinforce the strategic ambiguity, to reinforce the clouds, to reinforce the lack of clearance. It's not to bring clarity. What is the meaning of the clarity? The meaning of the clarity and the removal of the ambiguity will be the following. Number one, Afghanistan cannot be dominated either by an outside power, covertly or overtly, or it cannot be dominated by any single ethnic group in Afghanistan. Pashtuns are not Taliban. The overwhelming majority of the Pashtuns are not the Taliban. But the Taliban are Pashtuns, particularly from the south. And 93% of the Taliban structure, regardless of where they are, is from one tribal group in Afghanistan. The United States doesn't want you to know this. The architects of the Doha deal do not want you to know this. They never mention the name of Hibatullah in their statements. Why? If they have a problem with North Korea, they say regime of Kim Jong-un, whatever. Or they have a problem with another country, they refer to that person in order to tell the society we have problem with this person. Why Washington is refraining from naming Hibatullah as the super evil of our times in Afghanistan? Why? Has Washington put in place any mechanism to make sure that part of these tens of millions of dollars do not reach Hibatullah every week? No, it hasn't. Let's remember, if ICC has chased Hibatullah, at least on papers, ICC is an European entity. It doesn't have the backing of Washington. And it has no teeth either. So clarity number one is my country is dominated through a NATO-backed conspiracy by a religio-tribal group that is going to collapse. US is funding it right now, and we hope it will stop. It has not stopped to this date. Two, the Taliban's religio-tribal power structure relies on two factors: madrasa affiliation and rural tribal codes. Both of these codes are alien to the absolute majority of the Afghan people. It is unsustainable. UNAMA, despite spending $700 million, despite having 51 foreign expats repatriates into the structure has zero impact on behavior of the Taliban. Remember, after the conference in Doha, Taliban brought about the PVPV law, prevention of virtue and prevention of vice and promotion of virtue. Exactly a day after the Doha 3. This was to tell UNAMA you are irrelevant, you are a show. And when members of the Security Council extend the mandate of UNAMA, it's waste of resources, it's waste of every effort. It has no relevance in Afghanistan today. The other part is, ladies and gentlemen, every ingredient of a massive civil war is in there. Our advice for foreign powers will be not to invest in the cheap Taliban crypto. I want to repeat, do not fall for this cheap Taliban crypto. It will collapse because it is alien to the very fabric of Afghanistan. It does not represent the ethnic groups. It does not represent the political diversity. It has not come through a process. It has come through a conspiracy and a deal. Every ingredient is there for this entity to collapse, and if it doesn't go by itself, a civil war is on the way, whether you like it or not. Give the Afghan people a face. Do not reduce our cause to women education only. I appreciate your sentiments, but the issue in Afghanistan is not education of women only. It is a massive human suffering, regardless of the gender. Now, as far as the region is concerned, the region must have the strategic courage to come up with its own formula and to get rid of this strategic ambiguity. The region should not wait for NATO version 2 to have a prescription. NATO has no prescription. The prescription of NATO is what we are seeing, ambiguity. It's an ambiguity which is costing the Afghans dearly and massively, and which is costing the region in a lot of ways which I do not want to articulate. Some of our neighbors, despite our evidence, despite our requests, despite our decades-long plea not to assist with the Taliban, assisted the Taliban, gave them bases, gave them snipers, gave them bombs, gave them training. And you know what? The Taliban are now getting more assistance from Washington than the Afghans. They should ask themselves, what has changed? What has changed? And still, if these countries believe that the solution is with the Taliban, the solution is not with the Taliban.
خیلی ممنون اگه بشه خلاصه بفرمایید چون زمانمون کوتاهه.
Okay, I'm coming to the end of my presentation. As far as various regions of Afghanistan is concerned, today there is a notion that the fighting spirit has died in this part of Afghanistan. And the spirit for fighting is only alive in the Taliban. That is a myth. That is a myth. That's a myth which was reinforced by injection of billions of dollars and deliberate handover of Afghanistan, in the words of Lisa Curtis, as a birthday cake by NATO through Doha deal to this group. This is very unnatural, and it is going to end. So thank you for your attention, my country.
خیلی ممنون.